comfortable, Des. There is no question of that. We have got two very different stories on each side of this matchup. G2, the once great team, the championship winning team that has struggled through difficult tournaments for the last 12 months. They have got themselves almost back to the summit. Can they complete that journey? And meanwhile, on the other side, the young guns, BDS, they have come through on an astronomical rise through Siege here in Europe, and this is their moment. Could they take their first major title? Could they be the ones to ascend to the summit here and take G2 out?
We enter a new era if that is the case. G2 are the team we spoke about, all this legacy, all the history that sits behind them. Pengu, no doubt, at the very center of all of that. That could be really put to bed here, locked away in a coffin, and BDS will be the ones that everyone is now starting to talk about. A couple of roster changes in the last few months, clearly starting to shine for them. Let's look at these bans though. Maverick, the first one coming out. Thatcher to follow. Nothing too surprising at all for Clubhouse here. Makes walls a little bit tougher to open, forces teams to get creative with vertical play. And Echo, we haven't seen all that much in this series, but some teams do swear by it. BDS banning away Wamai. Name a more iconic duo than BDS and a Wamai
Starting
band.
to settle back into those comfortable ways nowadays. They want to get this one over the line. They've got their eyes on the prize. They are looking for the cash and the big SI point haul as well. There is absolutely no question. Both teams are going to fight hard for this one. G2 will come in on the attack to begin with. They will begin their attack into CCTV and Cash Room. Now, this is an interesting sight for me recently, Des, because we've seen a number of different attacking approaches brought along. Historically, we would generally see that focus on the east wall and the garage catwalk and getting control of all that area. It creates such a strong default plant spot for you in behind the server stack, especially if you have a man underneath in lounge as well to prevent any sort of vertical denial in the form of nitros. But recently, we've seen a real sort of trend towards teams pushing solely from the construction side as well.
Maybe not so much solely, but often we see, in fact, even in this exact game, the last time around I watched this site between G2 and BDS, G2 on the attacking side took control of construction, got the wall open in no time at all, and used that position to then throw grenades from construction over to CCTV wall, tried to kill the player that was there, remove the shield, remove everything, but the problem is all that came after EMPs were used on the roof of the building to destroy the ADSs that covered that path. That option is not available here, so G2 won't have the same luxury, shall we say, to play the same way. Some things are going to have to change. They're going to have to deal with those ADSs first if they want to try and make a similar style of play. But I do like how we're seeing teams shaking up the order in which things are normally done on Clubhouse, something that is very welcome given it has always been known as a checklist map. You do the same things time and time again. At least here teams are starting to change the order of those items.
Rafal showing us there that he has absolutely no intentions of leaving that garage catwalk unless absolutely forced to. He won't open up a full rotation in towards the site. Instead, just opens himself a line of sight. Thank you very much, Easy. And that just gives him a view onto that potential construction plant spot as well. So if that is where the pressure comes in from G2, they still need to think about Rafal on that garage catwalk, because he can completely shut down a plant and make it extremely difficult for G2 to push in from that side. But we see early pressure being applied to the east wall. The hard breach has been successful, and that leaves a line of sight all the way through CCTV from the half roof.
It's a starting point. That's the first point most teams open. Then it's a question of, do you want to take control of garage? Do you want to go for construction? Looks like for G2, the focus is absolutely going to be here inside a garage. And then we haven't seen too much of in Europe, to be completely honest with you. I know that other regions still love warring over garage, but I think here in Europe, a lot of the focus has moved towards construction instead. You can see BDS holding inside of lounge, just trying to contest. Lem almost finding a cheeky one-tap through onto one of the aggressing players. This is the map that I always remembered, though. G2 were very poor with their drone economy against BDS. A couple of times it came around to executes, 30 seconds left, no drones on side. Already here, they've lost a good chunk of them, so they've got to be mindful of that limited information on their side.
Ranshiro and I think it was Alems just trying to hold underneath in lounge there. Alems has taken a good chunk of damage for the pleasure, and they were making it difficult for themselves to get back to site as well. We can see there is still one man there underneath. He's going to drop down onto the blue stairs, I think, a little bit. Out comes the first nade. Rafal manages to survive, but not the breaching charge from Citizen on the Ash. And sometimes you just have to find a way. You have to use those gadgets and utility in different ways, and he has done exactly that to crack the nut of BDS there, just taking over Garage Catwalk. And right now, things are looking good for G2. They have Kanto out on the rappel of the east wall. Citizen will be down there, and Shaiko could prove a bit of a sticking point here. Some pressure needs to be applied to him somehow to allow G2 to get themselves into that plant spot.
Shaiko's always a player that plays super close to the CCTV into cash wall and is always the one to go aggressive as he is doing now, but ignores the west window inside the CCTV, gets shut down. C4 from Alem, no one from G2 playing the pincer game from below like we saw from them last time. That makes things a little bit more comfortable. They can stop the plant going in. It's still a 3 versus 2, but like G2 always face, it's the clock that is their worst enemy. 2 kills fly out, a Pokeball onto Citizen, he catches him out. Uno in a 1 versus 1, no time left on the clock. Where have we seen this before? Oh yeah, back on Villa. The clock does not play to their favor, and BDS take the first round.
BDS just snatching around from the jaws of defeat there. It really looked like G2 had all the control they needed. They had the man out on the east rappel. They had Garage Catwalk. They could completely section off site to get access to that default plant spot. But when it came to putting that briefcase down on the ground, they were unable to see it through. They were unable to achieve that, and BDS took full advantage, just using that aggression on defense to kick back, to keep themselves in the round, to get the kills when they needed them, and to just force that clock all the way down. Uno caught out in the cold towards the end on the cash stairs, not able to get himself into the fight quickly enough as those last few seconds, those last grains of sand just dropped through the timer, Des, and we saw BDS take round number 1, and a great start. First time, interestingly, that they have been ahead when we look at this score cumulatively for the entire major. That now puts BDS in the lead.
Albeit only by 1 round on this particular map, and it is the only map that matters. As the guys said on the desk, this comes down to it. This is all that matters. It's a best of 1 for all intents and purposes. Add in the fatigue, add in the wariness that develops off the back of playing 3 maps back-to-back against one another. And they've barely been short maps. In fact, many going almost the full distance. I think Milos shed 36 out of 45 rounds have been played so far, and we may yet see another 15 coming out on this map. It could go the distance. It could go down to the wire.
Ranshiro just moving around the map on the Bandit. Interested to see whether he heads back to site or whether he's looking to keep himself out on the roam. He almost tried to debate us there, Des. Did you see that? He gave us the old razzle-dazzle there. He stepped left. I thought he was heading upstairs. But then no, he jukes right and heads downstairs. I always love to see the volume of roam that gets brought out here on Church or Arsenal. It tends to be almost all or nothing. It's either everybody downstairs and locking for a long round with 3 minutes of pressure from the attackers, or it's try and get 3 or 4 out on the roam and make it difficult for them to do their job. But right now, it looks like BDS, they are limiting themselves down to the basement. They're going to hold on for as long as they can. And right now, G2, they're moving quickly through the map. They're going to have plenty of time to tick off those tasks that they need to accomplish.
What I found really interesting in the last game between these guys was BDS actually weren't too uncomfortable letting G2 get on site and plant, because BDS always wanted to play for the retake. They'd charge up the stairs, they'd bring the C4s out once the plant was down. They would really try to get G2 whilst they tried to reassemble themselves into a comfortable form to defend the planter once it, or the diffuser once it was on the ground, sorry. So here with the angles they're setting up, I think it's much the same. They just don't want to get themselves caught out again by BDS, by G2, sorry, or by BDS once G2 have already got the plant down. Here we go. Moto being opened up. They've got the control they need. No kitchen hatch open, mind you. So there's a lot of soft control. There is blue control. There is Moto being opened up too. But they need to get Shaiko out of blue. He always sits behind Generator. It is his favorite spot on this map. If they can't unseat him, this could be absolute chaos, because if you want to plant inside of Church, you 100% need to go out of this spot.
Vital to the attack here. We can see him just using that rotation to move himself backwards and forwards so he can support the defense of Church by challenging onto Moto Door, but quickly rotate back through blue and hold onto that Generator spot if need be as well. Great use of that area of the map from Shaiko. And as you say, G2, they have to unseat him if they want to be successful, at least with a church plant. They do have the option, of course, of breaching the wall and pushing into the rear of Arsenal instead, but there are 2 defenders in there looking to lock that down as well. Now, Shaiko is going to come head-to-head potentially, and Renshiro it will be to get the opener. Shaiko onto Citizen will be closed out with a couple of quick kills from Pengu and Virtue. 3 versus 3. We find ourselves Rafal down and taken out by Uno. 3 versus 2. Advantage G2 coming into the last 30 seconds, and in terms of Church and Arsenal, 30 seconds is an absolute lifetime. We generally see it come down to last 10-second bloodbaths, but the ping comes out. It's all the information that Renshiro needs to shut down Pengu on his belly. He gets a third onto Virtue. Can he look for a 4K now? 2 versus 1. It's down to Brede and Renshiro, both on low health, but Brede doesn't need a single more HP than he has in his bar to shut down Uno, and that is going to be a hard-fought defense from BDS, and they take the second round as well.
That's 2 nail-biters now, coming down to the final members being left alive on either side to determine the fate of these rounds for each team. And so aggressive from Renshiro, stepping out there. You thought there would be a cross angle coming in from Blue or from the second player pushing inside of Moto, but no, G2 not quite cohesive enough in the dying seconds, and it's all too easy for Brede to collect that final kill. 2 rounds now coming across to the side of BDS as mentioned, but it's looking close. They could have gone G2's away, but unfortunately for them, they haven't.
BDS taking an early advantage here, but on the defensive clubhouse, I'm sure it won't rattle G2 too much, but they do need to pick up some attacking rounds, and what better time to start than now? They certainly don't want to find themselves on the receiving end of a clean sweep of a defensive rotation going 3-0 down. Gym and Bedroom is surely the location for them to make a play here, for them to make a push on the attack and get that first round on the board. But having been 2 maps up overall, it starts surely to be a bit of a brain worm for G2 Des as they get just clawed back closer and closer and closer, and it will have a big mental impact. And surely the players start thinking, not like this, you know, we can't go all the way, we can't have it run back all the way from BDS when we were 2-0 at the advantage. And right now BDS, they're looking pretty strong on the defensive clubhouse here.
I'm really rating how they see it, and it's worth mentioning we keep on touching on this series going the distance around it being a nail-biter down to the very closing round. Let's not forget Big Mike Rodriguez yesterday, incredible fight he had in the UFC, massive Siege fan, wonderful result for him in a win. No doubt sitting here now hoping for one of these 2 teams, I don't know which one he's supporting, to come through and take the win to make it a successful couple of days for the Siege community overall. But well done, Mike, wonderful performance yesterday, and I know everyone, given how Twitter was on fire, enjoyed watching that fight.
It's always nice to see one of our own having that success, isn't it, no matter what the chosen field is. So yeah, big shout out to Mike. You're a well-liked character, and it's certainly nice to see you come away with the win. So Rafal, he's going to be holding down cash here on this Gym and Bedroom push. He is an important part of this defense. Once he is cleared out of this location, it allows, most importantly, G2 to head on to the windows, and that is where
does he get it?
He does. Oh, no, it just gets open. That must have been the absolute nick of time. I really thought that he was just going to burn that exothermic charge off the wall, but no. And you can see the electricity crackling across there, showing just how close it was. The electrical is still in place and still active, but he will be shut down, and that now gives G2 access to the cash room. Not only the cash room, but by locking down CCTV, it means that they can get onto those south side windows, and that can start to make this a difficult site for the defenders to hold on to, because their movement is then seriously restricted. Now, G2 may or may not choose to use them, but the option is there for them at least.
I think they are going to try and make use of it. Now that you've got that control, why wouldn't you want to? And you're right, it kind of becomes a game of control here. One angle opens up another, and lets you add a lot more, or augment your attack in this case. They're looking towards the logistics office to the north, have the ability to play from the south, and now can push in from the east at the same time. Rafal did waste a bit of time, very unlucky to not catch the exothermic at the very dying second of the charge going off, and sadly it does lead to his untimely demise. Here they come with the next push in. You've got the Goyo shield ready to pop if someone does try and go aggressive, but it's all around how long this dance takes place. We're into that final 45-second mark, and G2 need to get moving fast. Here we go. Drop comes in, gets one, but dies to his own fire. Unfortunate. It's a 4 versus 1. G2, surely this is their round for the taking, unless Brede can go big.
He's going to have to go bigger than big here, Des. He finds himself 1 versus 4. Gets the first and downs Pengu. That puts the diffuser cold on the ground. A point in the credit of Brede. And I'm just starting thinking to myself, 1v2 diffuser on the ground. This is doable. But no, he is shut down by Uno on the stairs. That is G2 taking round number 3. And did they desperately need that one? Let me tell you, yes, they did. It puts them 1-2 on the scoreboard now. And the fight back can begin. They are going to be looking for a 2-4 split on this half as an absolute minimum. But let me tell you, if that is what they achieve, this could well turn into the battle of gym and bedroom, Des. If we see CCTV and Church go in the direction of BDS and then G2 managed to get the win on gym and bedroom again, we could see exactly the same in return when BDS are on the attack. I don't want to start painting it already, Des. I don't want to wish us there, but we could have overtime on our hands. It is so realistic.
In a world where you exist, Tim, overtime is always possible. We're only 3 rounds in. We're only a quarter of the way through. Pretty much. We're only a quarter of the way through. One big change that BDS have been making, I've clocked actually, is the bringing of both electrified operators, both the Bandit and the Kai being brought at the same time. Previously, they bought the Bandit, they bring the Maestro, and they then go on to bring the Goyo as their kind of 3 central pieces, alongside, of course, the Smoke and the Jaeger. So I'm somewhat surprised to see a couple of changes coming in here, where they are really hard focused on the denial. But I guess with that Thatcher ban being in place this time around, compared to where it wasn't before, it does start to make some sense.
It does, and last time around, everything was opened up very, very quickly. So changes, you know, they do need to think about exactly how they are going to keep G2 at bay, because you can't rely on the sort of round that they had back in round 1. It came down to the last few seconds and kills raining in for BDS. G2 just unable to get themselves over the line and get that diffuser down and on the ground. But like I said, you can't rely on that from BDS's standpoint every time. I would say once the attackers have that eastern wall control and they have garage, 9 times out of 10, that diffuser's going to go down successfully.
Early start, electrification being used inside of the garage as well, so looks like BDS want to most definitely say no control this time around in garage. We know that's where your focus came into. Have CCTV wall, open it up, not a problem. But actually getting into the south side of it and unsettling Rafal, who's playing up in the rafters, that's going to be a little bit tougher for you. Trying to see if they can get a pop in from below here, but with Shaiko still lurking around inside of storage, this is going to be really tough for them. Grenade comes singing out just in the nick of time, it appears, and I think they've managed to keep this one alive. Renshiro can't get in the right spot to prevent it going off here, so Pengu should quite freely be able to get away with it. No, the shield was in the way at the most imperfect of times, and the wall will get opened up. It took a little bit longer. It did require a couple of grenades to come singing through, but they've at least got step 1 completed. Eastern
control gained, and Alems is going to move himself into garage to challenge onto anybody who wants to try and push in and put the screws onto Rafal, which is exactly what we saw last time around with grenades raining in, and he was taken out reasonably easily. Ultimately, Citizen using one of those Ash breaching charges just to finish the man off. But Alems, he's just cruising in between both at this point, and I like to see that adaptation coming in from BDS. They recognise that that was one of the big weaknesses last time around, giving over that control of garage far too soon to G2, and they know that they were lucky to be able to absorb the pressure that they did. So Alems, he's just stepping up and holding a higher line there and just trying to prevent that pressure coming in, and right now it's working. We are down to only a minute remaining, and still G2 don't have any boots on the ground in garage.
Or very few drones left, only 4 on site. They have been putting quite a lot in to try and find out where Renshiro and Alems are playing. They've been in storage and lounge so far, alternating somewhat between garage as well, so there is work to be done. Renshiro's going on an adventure, rotating his way back up main stairs, probably to try and come up behind them here to cause some trouble. If he can get onto someone like Virtue without him knowing, that could be an absolutely huge flank that could upset this entire attack.
Hibana just opening up the construction wall there, giving a line of sight. It seems to be that the second set of X-Kairos pellets were a little bit too high and leave a bar across. The line of sight will be perfect, but there will be no access through that. Citizen getting shut down by Alems there. That's the opening kill on the round, going to BDS this time around. It shows the importance on that bar there, as Virtue will try to clear it off, but this time the pellets will be shut down. Virtue gets himself a kill, however, and we find ourselves 4 versus 4. 10 seconds left to go. Kantor moves into sight. Pengu needs to get this diffuser down, but he is shut down. He will be down. Diffuser is down cold as we speak. Rafal and Alems doing big work for BDS here. The time ticks down and is gone, and BDS once again with a successful defense of CCTV and Cash. G2, despite having some control over site, just finding the verticality used against them.
It is crazy when, again, I think about teams like Rogue and how every single one of their rounds is won by elimination. Between these two teams, I feel at least a third of the rounds have been won by the timer. The teams constantly racing on their attacking halves against the clock, not quite able to deliver to the level that they need to. And it's unfortunate because it looks like G2 have got really good game plans coming into mind sometimes where they are going for the execute, they're hunting down these kills, and BDS are having to play off-site for C4s from below and those vertical angles, but the timer always expires before we can see what the next 5 to 10 seconds would hold. Good coming out of BDS though, good to run that clock down even further. That puts them at 3-1, a very healthy start here on Clubhouse.
BDS are playing it perfectly, as you say, burning the clock down and just keeping men alive in alternative areas of the map, just able to... That's certainly some strong...
Cheers, guys, now we can't even see the game.
Certainly some strong support coming in for BDS. I'm sure there's plenty of G2 Army shouts in the chat as well. Two of the most supported teams in Siege, I would suggest. And this is a huge final that we are seeing shown down between the two of them now. BDS are leading here on their defensive half. 3-1 it stands, and they move down to Church and Arsenal. What do G2 need to do differently compared to what we saw last time? And for me, when attacking this site, I always talk about the trifecta of attack, the three really important areas, and that is blue, that is dirt tunnel, and that is church wall. And if you can control 2 out of those 3, generally speaking, you will win this round more often than not. And last time, G2 just really failed to do that. They didn't get meaningful control over blue. They didn't pay any attention to dirt tunnel whatsoever. Kitchen hatch was left closed, and it became too one-dimensional, did the push. And they need to recognize and change that up. I think they need to apply more pressure earlier in the round to blue, particularly to move Shaiko out of there.
Normally it's Brede who's sitting inside of dirt, and Pengu, and so many times in their last game as he's doing right now, if Pengu goes and opens that up, then normally it's again that ghost pressure I keep on speaking about. There's no one there, but the fear, the fact that it's open, that anyone could come creeping down there at any times, means Brede has always got to put his attention up to the top of dirt to make sure there's no funny business going on to that side. Still, again, it's more the double electrification. It should make the job a little bit harder to get these things open. However, are going to find themselves with Moto control. I'm not sure if they have stock yet. I think that's still reinforced, and it's the same story inside of Kitchen. There we go.
Certainly is. Uno is in there just opening things up with the sledge. Virtue will put the Hibana pellets down, and now the reason for Uno doing that timed as he did was to try and prevent the impact trick that we have just heard successfully used. Meanwhile, Citizen will shut down Rafal for the opening kill, and the entry has been so balanced so far over Des, just going again, flip-flopping from team to team, nobody aiming to really get an advantage in that battle.
My spreadsheet is really crying because I don't have the round 3 opening kill or the timing on it, but otherwise all the times currently sat in the final 60 seconds we've seen the opening kill. I believe this round has been the fastest opening kill that we've seen so far. Inside about 80 seconds, first one's gone down. Here we go with that exothermic I was mentioning. So he's put that on quite early and then rotated far, far away. This is that ghost pressure I was speaking about, because Brede now is going to think that someone is pushing down there. If Pengu is fast enough, they can execute down main stairs, and Brede won't be able to adapt in time.
That's it. It's at least 20-30 seconds of Brede's attention that is going to be taken up until he realises that actually there is no push coming from that direction. G2 maybe haven't moved quite quickly enough, but Pengu will take the drop there. Brede does allow it. He is not in position to deny that. Pengu starts to get the diffuser down. The smoke canisters are out, but will be effective. Alems finishes the job off with a nitro onto Pengu. That leaves the diffuser down in sight. Citizen rushes in to pick it up on the Jackal. He is not in a position to try and make the plant just yet. For me, G2, they need to be getting some angles locked down and getting themselves a couple of picks. Citizen, however, will stick the plant this time around. Uno gets Brede, and that now leaves BDS in a tough position. 3 versus 2 as Virtue takes down Shaiko, and we can see the rush onto site. But once again, Alems managing to just creep round the rear and get a kill onto Citizen with a pistol. Renshiro goes big, but shut down by Virtue. Alive and alert to the danger. 2 versus 1 now. Alems has no choice but to try and do something here. He's trying to stick this plant. Surely it's not going to be allowed. No! Uno, he shuts down with the angles already opened up by himself on the sledge, and that is going to be a big round for G2 there, taking Church and Arsenal away from BDS.
Much more of an improvement over the last time we saw a plant like this come in, where G2 got things down and then started trying to rotate around upstairs. But by then, Renshiro had flanked upstairs, got himself a kill, and removed all the vertical pressure. The fact that someone was hanging out on the door up to the north, just waiting at the end of the long hallway at the top of the stairs, meant that there was nothing they could do for the retake. It was all down to the fights on the ground with 2 members playing upstairs. That is basically a guaranteed lost round. 3-2, and we're sniffing that 4-2 scoreline now, Ace. That seems to be the recurring theme throughout this series. 4-2 at the half. I think we've been to on every single map so far.
It just goes to show exactly how close this matchup is, and coming into the game and yesterday, you know, we both said the same thing, and that was that BDS have really grown into this tournament, and it was not going to be a repeat of round 1, and boy, have they proved us right. They have come in here so strong on a number of these maps, and they are really earning their place here in the EU Major Grand Final. They have made a fantastic game out of this so far, and that 4-2 scoreline just goes to show how even things have been, because it then just bounces backwards and forwards, and the other team come back with a 4-2, and we might just see that overtime that we saw on Villa as well. And I don't know if my nerves can take that here, Des, in map 5. Best of 5, G2 came in with a 1 map advantage, having won that upper bracket, but that was immediately... Well, it wasn't actually. Villa did go in the favour of G2, 2-0, and then BDS have fought their way back to nullify that advantage, and it is all down to Clubhouse now. This one is for all the marbles.
All the marbles. There's another saying for you guys. You're not sure what that one means? It means everything is yours. Everyone likes the marbles as a kid. So let's see how the final round of the half plays out. BDS have got some work to do. They want this 4th round. They don't want to see it go 3-3. Otherwise, G2 will be more than comfortable going into the second half. Nothing massive in terms of changes. That intel heavy setup returns once more with the Valkyrie and the Maestro. All those cameras to dot around the map. But guess what? It's my favorite IQ player at the moment, it seems, Citizen. He'll be hunting these out from above, pinging out where they are, finding the ones that aren't on site and dealing with them. Can make life quite frustrating for BDS when you're just finding these things taken away seemingly for free and there's nothing you can do about it.
BDS once again not paying any attention to the top floor, not really looking to get themselves any sort of roam game out there, happy to defend from the site, and G2 I'm sure are going to be looking for a similar outcome to the last time that they attacked here in the last round. If they can level this out 3-3, they are going to come into their defensive half feeling very, very solid, and a nitro attempt from Renshiro will be only that, an attempt. It will be unsuccessful and not take any damage off the G2 side whatsoever. Now, I can't see G2 wanting to come down to another kitchen hatch drop here. It's a big risk, really. Once you've done it in the last round, I'm sure that BDS are going to have close eyes on that hatch.
Saw Virtue basically just sit and play Hot Wheels there with charging his drone down blue stairs, up through Army and up into the far west side of it. So, in Arsenal, sorry. So now it's sat in the far west side of it. They have, again, that visibility. It's on top of the pallet across to the left. They have visibility of where they want to try and go for this plant. They can see who's playing at the back. They can see who's playing in AKs. They can see anyone who's trying to watch angles through the wall here from Church. Good setup position for them. Now it's about playing for that execute. But BDS by now, they've got to be used to it. They've just seen it come through in the last round. They saw it attempted earlier on. They saw it attempted in their last game. They know what G2 want to do. They need to stop it or they need to react far quicker than they have already.
G2 playing very well into the defense. You can see at the top of your screen there a reinforcement applied to that Arsenal wall. Sometimes it will be there, sometimes it won't. But what it does is prevent the defenders from actually firing through that what would be a soft wall. So by trying to get the diffuser into that space and put it down, it actually gives you quite a lot of protection, because then you only need to defend realistically from sort of one direction. You've got towards the dirt tunnel and you've got a 45-degree angle out towards the single door from corridor into Arsenal, and Pengu gets himself into exactly that spot. Elems will shut down Uno though, and this time BDS just seem to have better control over the site here. Shaiko will be down though, and Kanto comes in for a backstab from Blue. He will get shut down by Elems, but not before Citizen takes out Renshiro. This is a war of attrition. Out goes the C4. Unsuccessful this time, but downs Pengu, and that is the diffuser on the ground. Citizen down as well. Surely a BDS round now, as it will be closed out. Brede closing down Citizen, and that's going to be round 6 to BDS. 4-2 on the half, and things, they couldn't be closer right now.
Pengu struggling there a little bit, was trying to find a position where he felt comfortable to put the plant down. Do I do it in the default to the north? Do I do it straight under the hatch? Do I go instead out towards that Ash Rush wall, as we sometimes call it? He wasn't quite sure. And when he finally did get comfortable, that C4 singing over didn't kill him, but did get the down. And it was enough to run the clock down to 0, as we've been saying all day long, and give the round over to BDS. We now switch sides. G2 go onto the defense. Potentially, these could be the dying few rounds to determine who walks away the champion of Europe. What a title that is to carry going into stage 2.
Absolutely massive, especially coming away from that first stage of the new format of professional Siege as an esport. It's absolutely electric so far through every region. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch these differences play out, whether it be number of teams in the league, whether it be match format. It's been an absolute pleasure. We can see some support coming in for G2 there, Des. Only fair to balance it out.
I wonder who she's a fan of.
Only fair to balance it out. We've had the BDS support as well, and I'm sure that there is plenty for both. I'm sure there's plenty of G2 Army. I'm sure there's plenty of French flags flying in the Twitch chat right now, because these two are extremely popular teams, and we're seeing exactly why, because they bring an exciting brand of Siege, and right now it does not get more exciting than what we are seeing.
I like how we're seeing Renshiro donning the Kali here as well, just thinking, well, maybe this is the time for me to bring something different out. I don't believe they've ever used this in any of their attacking rounds on Clubhouse. I'm just checking the stats. No, they haven't. Normally you see things like a Nomad. Occasionally you might get a Twitch coming along or an IQ. But this is the first I'm seeing of them making use of the Kali. Maybe again because that Thatcher is banned away here where it hasn't been so much previously. Very curious to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I think that's likely a big part of the decision there. Obviously, she can be very useful for holding down those angles as well, particularly cover when plants are going down. Very good secondary machine pistol to hand as well that can do some serious damage very, very quickly. But more than anything, it's going to be about that gadget and just being able to clear off any of those electrification charges, whether it be bandit batteries, whether it be the electroclaw. Right now, we can see Shaiko going to work immediately on that Hibana. He's one of his favourite operators, at least. As we know, he's going to be getting in and opening up that hatch from stock just to try and apply some pressure to the blue corridor behind the generator there.
Trying to do a Virtue there. Virtue took the same path to try and get the drone all the way through Arsenal, but does get picked off by the trigger finger of Virtue. He's playing in a similar spot, like you say, that Shaiko likes to play, so Shaiko should know what he needs to do to be able to deal with this, how to aggress him out of here. For now, it isn't really bothering. They don't want to try and contest into blue. Looks like there might be a potential rotate coming through here as they try and change their angle of attack.
Virtue just looking to hold down that blue corridor once again, but rotating through to site in exactly the same manner as we saw Shaiko doing, just bouncing backwards and forwards. He's got the carbine in hand, and he's going to be looking to hold this off for as long as possible. BDS certainly aren't throwing themselves onto the sword of the G2 defense here. They are playing this patiently. Still got plenty of time left to go, and they want to be aware of exactly where everybody is, or at least as many as possible. They now have confirmation that Virtue is playing in there behind the generator. We've got Kanto Raketti just looking to swap around those bandit batteries. Needs to be very careful though. It'd be very easy for him to lose his head to Elemsir if he pops it up too high above that bar.
It is the easiest free fire in the game as well. Looking to shoot through from blue stairs all the way to the back of church. You can normally catch someone out. Renshiro is going to catch Virtue. It is the Jaeger, somewhat dispensable you might say, but an opening kill nonetheless means that blue should now be clear. You have Pengu holding a little bit closer by, and despite that impact coming through, they're going to find no one nearby. Of course, those impacts coming out of Zofia do detonate when they come near a player. Pengu's in a spot's going to find one. A drone didn't even tell them where he was. Collects one. Can he collect the next? Brede going for a plant and no one around to stop him just yet, it seems.
Shaiko will get the kill onto Uno to support it. It's all about the bullets that are raining down here. The diffuser is down, however. That is the 1 point to the credit of G2, but it will be ripped away very, very quickly by Shaiko, coming in with a headshot to finish off the round. Des, that is now becoming a substantial lead that we see on the scoreboard for BDS. They find themselves 5-2, 2 rounds away from taking the title of EU Major Champions. And what a story it will be for BDS, just raising themselves through the ranks from that unbelievable Challenger League season that we saw them originally have, coming through a tough first professional season, but now look at them here, 5-2 and in the ascendancy in the EU Major.
It is insane that they could start so well in the EUL, drop off what seems like the face of the earth, and not finish at the top anymore, given how strongly they stomped over a good number of teams. And even the same story, I think, coming into SI 2020, everyone looked at their performance at OGA and said, they'll do okay. We don't expect them to do amazing, but they'll do okay at SI. They finished 4th. That is still an incredible achievement, especially given it's an EU team. Woo, go EU. Outside of that, the regular season, again, they had this dip where everyone thought, okay, that's it. They're falling off, not much to come. 3 days over his honeymoon period. He's back to playing at a level that everyone would come to expect from a player in the European League. And then here they are again, reaching yet another high. It's like they're climbing mountains where over every single peak, there's a small drop and then another climb and another climb. And these boys just keep on bouncing back to new highs. They're 2 rounds away from bringing down G2, the team that at the start we peddled and said had a legacy to restore. They want everyone to remember that this is a historical roster, a historical organization in Siege that has got so much to offer. But here, they're potentially about to get upset by one of their biggest rivals. 2 rounds stands between BDS and the title of champion.
I think it's fair to say G2's legacy in this game will never be forgotten. They will always be mentioned up there with the top teams and the top performances and the classic games that we've seen over the years. And they have certainly sent a message one way or another, regardless of the outcome of this game, that they are back, they are contesting, and they will be fighting for those big titles over and over again in the future. But right now, it just feels like BDS, they have got themselves almost there to the peak. They are ready to plant that French flag at the top of the mountain, and they are ready to claim themselves that first major title. But there is a long way to go yet. 2 rounds they will need to find on the attack here against what I am sure will be a difficult G2 defense.
Plant that flag and scream Vive la France. It's the way to do it, boys, and you're almost there. But let's say it's not over yet. G2 could still yet swing this back, as we've seen all day long. Nothing is for certain when you look at these teams. I think that angle was coming through from Renshira to try and take out the ADS. May have just narrowly missed it, and what a cheeky angle that is. A pixel hold in towards the top-sided garage. I'm pretty sure that means that they are resigning the player that's currently in there on catwalk to death. He will not be able to return too comfortably, as these angles will now begin to get held out by the side of BDS. It looks like they're going for a take inside of construction to begin with. Again, we spoke about this previously. Some teams have opted to this to be their start. The one thing you got to watch out for is the impact tricking potentially coming out of Citizen here once you do start trying to get a charge down on this wall.
Lot of attention being paid there. We've got Brede. He's got diffuser in hand, so this is a clear signal from BDS as to exactly what's going to happen. Not even worrying about that east wall, but will they get caught out with this being a little too one-dimensional?
What did he just impact nade? He didn't. There was nothing on the wall. All the Ex-Kairos are next to them. It's still in the back pocket, but I think Citizen might have panicked a bit in the expectation there was something on there.
I think you
and
could
got
be
him
right.
and just now lost an impact.
I think you could be right, and that is a big play from BDS to bait out that utility and just make it that little bit easier to get the construction wall open. But with 45 seconds left to go, keep your eye on Cantor Raketti in this round, because out on the garage catwalk there, he is going to be an important factor as the push comes through. We see Uno just rotating to try and get the bandit battery, and that is a successful bandit trick. This could be huge. He applies both bandits and leaves the wall electrified. This could reduce BDS to a single push through a single door. Kill comes in onto Uno from Renshiro, but right now they are scrambling BDS here, using the Kali utility to clear out the bandit batteries. With 15 seconds left to go, here goes the exothermic charge. Virtue with a nitro from below. Big play from him, and that now leaves us 4 versus 4. Access to sites has been gained. Brede moves in, but killed, and that must be it with diffuser down cold on the ground. In comes a bloodbath, but surely too late, and it is G2 managed to keep themselves fighting, keep themselves alive here on Clubhouse.
What a scrap over a single wall. What stops a team from taking around 2 very thin strips of metal? A bit of a battle, and even with Citizen messing up both of his impact nades, he threw both of them at the wall when there was nothing on it. It all came down to the bandit tricking coming out of the rest of his team. So a good solid round there coming out defensively. A little bit slow on the wall taking side of things, I think, for BDS, but that same theme that carries throughout the series of running the clock down to 0 and then hoping to execute strikes once more. They had no idea that Citizen was sat just inside the doorway between sites, And all it took was for BDS to try and run across to go for a plant, Citizen to spray him down, and the round was done and confirmed from there. Gym and bedroom where we go to next, we saw that Mirror 6 picked away for the clash. More mobile version of Mirror, as I like to call it.
Such an important round coming up now in round number 9. Gym and bedroom could well be the potential weakness and the downfall of G2 here. It is one of the more difficult sites to defend here on Clubhouse, but you can see you need to.
Someone tagged me in this and said, someone tagged me and was like, Des, is that you? And I was like, mate, come on.
I mean, I can see the point, Des. I can see the point.
Terrible facial hair, the scrunched up face. Yeah, sounds about right. The terrible receding hairline, as Tristan loves to tell me. Yeah, I get it.
My point continuing into gym and bedroom, G2 go, and their match, it really feels their entire tournament rests on this round. It is one of the more difficult rounds to defend here on Clubhouse. This is a roll of the dice for G2. Church and Arsenal is available to them, but obviously they've already had a failed attempt down there, so they don't feel that they want to risk it. They want to go for gym and bedroom instead, and we've said it a number of times today already, Des. I'll say it again. When times get hard, G2 bring the clash, they bring the shields, and that just signifies how important this round is.
Let's not forget how well that worked out for them earlier on. Didn't work out very well. 3 rounds they tried to force the Monty, and every single time BDS made it look like they've been dealing with Monty and nothing else in their entire history of playing the game. So I'm hoping here the clash works out for them, but if BDS find an answer, G2 have got there are no extra lives, there are no extra chances. They have to make it work first time, and that makes me nervous for them.
Uno just looking to hold himself on that east wall at the minute, but he needs to be careful because Brede is in there ready to place that exothermic charge, and as you can see, they are going to back away from that one. They don't want to challenge east wall too hard now. Interestingly, there is no cash hold coming in from G2 here. They've been happy to give up that side of the map by the looks of things. BDS are going to be able to move in very quickly here once they realise that there is nobody playing inside. You can see that the Sharks are starting to circle now. Renshiro, Shaiko, Alems all getting themselves into position. Renshiro moving out with the Carly onto the construction window. And as I suggested, once you have control over that area, you can start playing on those south side windows. Renshiro just looking to prevent any jump out coming against him there from the bedroom window. But it is going to be difficult for G2 now because any movement inside of sight could be very quickly punished.
More they can do in terms of timing, though. 1:10 left, and once more, it's a setup piece that comes through. They have what they need. They're getting the walls opened, or the doors opened up, sorry, where the castle barricades are. I think one got caught out there by the sounds of it by the ADS. You can hear that chomping it away. Finally, it's opened up, but guess what? There's a clash waiting on the other side. Rafał picks up Citizen. There's only 60 seconds to go. BDS needs to step up the pace.
The clash shield is just holding them at bay for the time being, feeding that information. We can see Uno trying to play off. Out comes the Nitro. It will be successful. Beautiful shot as it hits Lems and knocks him for 6, taking him out of the round. And that levels things up. 4 versus 4, 35 seconds left to go. This is going to be a bloodbath. Ooh. First kill comes in from Renshiro as he gets himself in through the gym window. Pengu will have fed that information back into the team. In comes the kills though. Renshiro has not been shut down until Virtue manages to do it. That was 1 versus 3. Now 1 versus 2. Out goes the C4 unsuccessfully. He is challenged. He is damaged. Surely BDS managed to stick this plant. They do. It is all on the shoulders of Virtue and shut down as he moves through to logistics. Brede closes out the round for BDS, and they now have a number of championship points coming up.
Oh my word, they just did not know that the plant was going down right inside the doorway. Ignores him to run into logistics and gets snagged by Brede, who had just come off the plant. Unfortunate, but my God, we're at that point, Ace. 3 rounds back-to-back, all G2 are done. And BDS, against all odds, coming in and map down, take the whole thing. And I guarantee you there's fans at home, even in the production team, as we all know, based in France, they are on the edges of their seats. They are like you right now, my friends, squatting, ready and waiting to cheer if BDS can do this. 1 round stands between them and one hell of a comeback after the rough and rocky second part of the season.
The true winners here It has to be us and the viewers at home, Des. What a fantastic match of Siege we have and are still witnessing. This is going to go down potentially as one of the great comebacks in all of Siege. G2 had a 2-map advantage. They had BDS on the ropes, but BDS, they never went down. They carried on fighting. They carried on swinging and slugging their way through what was a difficult game, and they find themselves now with their just reward. They have 3 championship points here, 3 opportunities to close this one down. They are going to be attacking onto Gym and Bedroom once more, and this is going to take something special from G2, not only to keep themselves in it here, but to keep themselves in it for another 3 rounds, to keep themselves fighting. Overtime is their only option now. It is their only saviour.
I can't take 3 rounds of this. I can't take the pressure that builds up as a result, but we've got no choice. Let's pray G2 can force it into overtime. I feel like it is the only thing that this series deserves, given how close it has been so far. This round coming in, no clash on side. It has been dropped away. The castle remains, as does the bandit. Nothing is changed for the side of BDS. And got to give a shout out to him. Renshiro currently standing as the top fragger. I've said in every single game BDS have had so far this competition, he has been their top rated player, bar none. Shaiko goes down early, and that's the freest pick ever to come through. They try and chase him down with some bullet trails off the back of the Kali, but nothing to be uncovered. They almost find him dancing around the generator stack right now. This is the trade they need. Citizen wins this against LM. Everything falls apart, but no, he's hightailed it out. Somehow, he has made a slippery escape into church, praying for his victory, no doubt, as Virtue finds a second. G2 may have done enough damage here inside the opening 60 seconds. Make it another one as Kanto steps in. That's 3 kills. BDS are left reeling, and it feels like now all that is left is to go into the next round.
The G2 fight back commences. It starts here. It starts right now, and I'm sure there are plenty of calls of G2 Army in the chat as Renshiro will move in and get a kill onto Virtue, but still 2 versus 4 at this point, and you have to feel like this round should be done. It has to be done if G2 want to keep themselves in the running here, if they want the chance to take home the prize money, to take home those SI qualification points. It has to start now. There is no more room for error from G2. They cannot lose another single round here to BDS, who are working through clearing that utility. G2 happy to burn the clock at this point.
No, nothing to worry about here, no pressure required. They've done this before, they've been at a numbers advantage. They just peel back, they play defensively, they don't start panicking. And that is the best thing they can do here, is don't have a worry in the world, just let them come to you. And when they do, you use that numbers advantage, you take the trades, and there is nothing else to worry about. Renshiro has got a couple of drones left on side, but not really with an opportunity to use them, it feels like. You don't want to find Brede being left into a 1 versus 2 with no one else able to trade him back out. Inside of construction, though, I'm pretty sure G2 know that this is where the assault is coming from. They backed away from here not too long ago and should be able to find one. There we go. Citizen with a double kill. Swings round and finds one. Brede with 30 seconds and a dream. A 1 versus 4. Not going to be able to find it. G2 extend their lives by yet another round. But can they find 2 on the bounce?
How long can we take this forward as? That is the question. How long can they keep us on the edge? There is going to be heart problems, at least in this room, and I'm sure all over the world right now as the tension rises, as we get ourselves towards the true sharp end of this match. That is 1 down. G2, they need to find themselves 2 more rounds. They're going to head back to CCTV in Cash Room, and I just predict now, Des, that every round we have remaining here is going to be fraught. It is going to be frantic. It is going to be fought hard tooth and nail. Can BDS just remain professional, keep themselves calm? They can't be taking those losses in the early round as they just did there with Citizen shutting down Shaiko. A nice, cheap, easy kill for him. They can't give those away. They need to keep that focus regardless of the excitement, regardless of the fact that they are on the cusp of everything they've been working towards. That major title coming their way, coming the way of France. They need to focus in here, and they need to just take 1 round at a time and get this over the line.
So do we, mate, lest our poor hearts give out. So far, nothing massive changing between rounds, admittedly. Yes, we dropped the clash away. Here, things are looking pretty similar. The bandit being brought back. Forget about the double electrification. G2 are playing around the Intel Dinar with that mute now at the same time. You're looking towards the Goyo, but I'm looking towards the team as a whole. 3 C4s on side. We spoke earlier on about Kanto being the C4 magnet. Uno showing us that actually G2 can throw them as well as the rest, if not better. What can they find? It requires the downstairs play, or it requires late round retakes of the downstairs, as we saw BDS do on their defensive side. Very curious to see if they can employ that, or if BDS has some dastardly evil plan to shut down that attempt.
Standard setup coming in from G2. We can see Kanto Raketti out on the balcony. We've got Virtue underneath in the lounge area, Nitro in hand, and we've also got Citizen playing underneath with another Nitro in hand. So there's going to be a lot of vertical attempts here. Citizen just keeping himself well out of the way down in the depths of the basement there, just ready to move his way up to bar, I'm sure, to potentially deploy that dastardly Nitro into construction, should that be where the push comes dastardly from.
And it's wonderful. He may well be. I thought at first he was trying to play for the double floor angle that we've seen a couple of teams. I think Nello's the player I always remember using that as teams try and drop into logistics. You're finding yourself below with a great angle to spray up through both floors and catch them out on the entry in. But I think BDS are already, for the most part, in the right position. Nothing too much to worry about. Let's not forget last time they got stuck in trying to get control of construction wall. It's got to be more coordinated, but I also want to see more composure coming out of the players on the side of G2 to deny it. That being said, although they wasted both of their impacts in the last round, this round they don't have any impacts to play with. So it's going to come down to the impact tracking skill of Uno here to deny this construction wall.
As we can see, the pressure is mounting from BDS on the construction side. Breeder is going to move forward to apply that first exothermic charge to the construction wall. Now, out comes the Toxic Babe canister, but the exothermic charge will go off without a problem. Now, that is much sooner in the round than we saw last time out for BDS attacking onto this site. Interestingly, you can see all those players just keeping their distance from that hatch as well. I'm sure that they are very aware of the potential for Nitro tosses. Uno will make an attempt in that direction, but Ranshiro wriggles his way down to the ground level to keep himself safe from danger. And right now, with a minute left on the card, Shaiko will get the first kill onto Virtue. Is this the beginning of the end for G2? That is the question. Out come another couple of kills. 1 versus 5 now. The hopes of G2 rested with the last man, but no, it will be Ali BDS as they take a flawless round, and they are your EU major champions here in stage 1. What a performance from the French team we have just seen, all the way back from 2 maps to 0. They take this one 3-2.
We wanted a close game. We got it down to the wire. I think we all wanted to see overtime, but ultimately it's BDS, and I'm so happy to see Ranshiro once again coming out as the big player for his team when it's needed. You could not ask for a better performance out of either of these teams. That hands down has been the best